Ew, we back. Y'all know what it is. 48 laws of power. We got law 17 through 20 today. We're gonna get through them. Some more toxic energy for you. Nah, let me stop. Some more unpacking some toxic energy, so therefore we can put something positive in our lives and use it to our advantage as we strive for our goals. So that's the energy that hopefully we are on as we're reading 48 Laws of Power, because as we all know, it can be used for good or it could be used for something negative. So we're going to stay on the positive side mostly. mostly. You want me to read it and then you take it, or what you want to do?
Go for it. Read it out.
All right. So law number 17, keep others in suspended terror, cultivate an air of unpredictability. What you think?
This one, I feel like if you didn't read the book or you didn't take the time to read the lessons behind it, this one might go over some people's heads, right? I think this one is not necessarily about terror in the sense that we're used to modern day terror. You know what I mean? There's certain connotations of the word and certain meanings and derogatives of the word these days. But I like the second part, cultivate an air of unpredictability, right? That's kind of where I harked on this particular rule. And I think in any good combat or any good battle war situation, you never want to be predictable, and you want to be unpredictable as much as possible, right? And even just in a modern day setting, person to person, all these psychology books and guides and mentorships, they all teach now, don't be a predictable person, be unpredictable in the way that you move, right? So I thought this law was particularly interesting in that respect.
I agree. And the example that they were using even with the chess masters, like you're going through it, and even in something like chess, like literally the chess masters playing chess with life, not just actually on the chessboard.
Yep.
And you're right. When you go to the actual title and says keep others in suspended terror, it's definitely hyperbole, or maybe not, but it can be considered hyperbole, where it's like in any instance, you don't ever want, I feel like when people become comfortable with you, or you become comfortable, they know where you're going to be, they know what you're doing, they expect certain things, they can predict your behavior. It almost allows them to take you for granted in a lot of ways, I feel like.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, and this is across the board, any type of relationship, any type of dealing. When people don't know, let's think about it like this. When you don't know the next time you're going to see somebody, it's like a real big thing. But if you know, like, I'm going to see you after work, don't trip. You know what I'm saying? It's a totally thing. And especially when you're going against somebody that you see as your competition, that's why teams want to keep their playbook close to heart. That's why you look at any football game, any type of competition, it's always about misleading, and you can do it in different ways, where you can do the Muhammad Ali approach that they mentioned at the end of the chapter, where it's like, I'm going to tell him exactly what I'm going to do to beat him, but he just doesn't think, he's just not believing it. So therefore it still has a certain level of unpredictability. But then when you go to the chess match with Fisher and Spassky, like Fisher is literally playing, I mean, he's manipulating him, playing these military mind games. He's playing chess outside of just the game of chess, and you see how it just completely broke down somebody's perspective, where he was beating the guy. He lost the first 2 games of chess, or lost the first one, forfeited the second one, was beating the guy so bad, the guy Spassky, who was damn near like the bully, like bullying him early in occasions, had his number. The guy thought that, like, he put something in his drink. He thought that there was something in the chair that controlled his mind. Like, literally, you can destroy people, because people want to predict their moves, gauge their moves based on how they predict you move. And so if you're unpredictable, that gives them a lot to prepare for.
Yeah. 100%. And with that, if you're unpredictable, if you're predictable, they're gonna predict that, right? And if you're unpredictable, they'll never be able to plan your next move. They can never combat it. That like you said, the guy was panicking the whole time. He thought he was poisoned. He thought, he was on tilt the whole time, which gave his opponent the opportune moment to strike. And I think that's what the book was trying to, through the stories, trying to convey in that, very subtly, is that keep those around you unsettled, and you'll always have that upper advantage.
Right. It's like weather.
Yeah.
Unpredictable weather. Unpredictable. Look at 2020. Something out of nowhere comes. You can see the fear that it instills in people. So it is a terror standpoint. We fear just the unknown. Think about it. In every aspect, we fear cultures that we don't know. Just because we don't know anything about them, we feel fear. If I see a bug that looks a little strange, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, is this poisonous? A snake? You know what I'm saying? Different things that we're not comfortable with, we fear. So therefore, it's the same thing in this situation where if you don't know, then people are always going to be, whether it's competition, they're always going to be hesitant to make their move, where you can kind of just sit back and control the pieces just based off of them wondering what the heck this dude is doing.
Yep. 100%. 100%. Which I think it kind of leads in directly into the next law, which was actually, go ahead. I'll let you read out loud.
Yeah. So law 18, do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous.
I feel like this was I had to reread this one originally when I first got the book. And I feel like, so I'll start with, I feel like it follows it goes into one another, because when you isolate yourself, you become predictable. When you hit certain parts of your life where there is turmoil or problems, and your natural instinct is to isolate, or hey, I know Dak is gonna, I know he's gonna disappear for a couple of months. You become predictable, and in that sense, you allow your adversary to gain an unnecessary advantage, if that makes sense.
Right.
And I think that's kind of, that's just kind of how I related the two. But on the second, my second point, I had to reread this a couple times, because I fall prey to this all the time. I fall for this all the time. Anytime, I think this is just human nature. You want to, okay, man, I'm going through it. Like, let me just isolate. Let me just, recoup. Let me, regain my surroundings. And I think it's only natural to build that fortress around you. So I could be wrong, but what do you think?
Nah, definitely. For me, I have to force myself sometimes to get out, to be around, folk and whatnot like that, just because I just find myself, I don't know if it's more comfortable in my little bubble, that I can create with myself, and just staying out the way and all this other stuff. But in all actuality, you can do that, but to have, I don't think that it aligns with the goals that I have and achieving the goals that I have if I'm going to be a loner. Like Jay-Z can be a loner. He already made it. He's good. You know what I mean? He can manipulate the chessboard without actually being there. However, when it comes to me, the things that I, want to do, want to achieve in life, like that's honestly one of my Achilles heels. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I know that one of my best qualities is bringing people together that wouldn't necessarily be in the same room together. But I also just like, I'm an introvert, to be totally honest. Like, I can be an extrovert if need be, but I much rather just be to myself in my own controlled environment. That's just how I've always been. But if you want to be influential, if you want to be powerful, whatever, word you use to describe it, but if you want to be somebody out there that's going to be successful in the areas that I want to be, it's like, you're on, like, you do a show, you know what I mean? How can you isolate yourself? You're going to isolate yourself except being online. I don't know. Maybe it will work. Maybe it won't. But I know for me, to build the level of success that I'm looking to build, I have to be a connector rather than just, and when you're by yourself, it does make you vulnerable. Even from the standpoint where they were talking about one of the emperors or kings, the one that was by himself, like, he's the one that died off. The other one that got involved in something was at the center of the kingdom, didn't have any privacy. Everything was like, he played a major role in every single thing that went on in that kingdom. He was protected by that. He was protected by everybody needing to rely on him. He understood. He had a better sense of what was going on throughout the community, just because he was talking to everybody, dealing with everybody, to the point where if you didn't pull up and like just be in front of him, I think he said he would say, "I don't know this person," and that was like saying, like, "Yo, they're done. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's a tough one. It's probably the toughest one for me to implement.
I 100% agree with you. And I think maybe me personally having the personal bias that I don't necessarily follow this all the time. I think it's one of those ones that if you aren't going to follow this rule, you have to be very skilled in what you're doing and looking to do, right? So I think I don't even think I'll show you, perfect example. Um, let's take the personal out of it. Let's give an example of like I use like Batman, for example, right? Everybody's seen the Christian Bale Batman, right? He isolated himself. Let's see, in the Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises, right? The last Bane. He isolated, but he was skilled in what he was looking to do. He was, they fought or whatever, and he was in that jail prison. It wasn't voluntary isolation, I'll give it that, but he was skilled in what he was. He was training himself, honing himself, bringing himself back to the point where he wanted to be to come back and fight Bane and everything. And again, this is a movie; it's a dramatization, but at the same time, I feel like if you're honed to that level, I personally feel isolation, and even if you want to build a fortress, is good to an extent. But I see where he's saying that having that fortress, because you could get comfortable in that fortress real quick if you're not very, very explicit in what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? If you're not, people disappear in the beginning of the year and, they work on themselves and all this good stuff, right? But then how many people fall off? How many people get forgotten about? How many people are actually in the gym every day, getting better at their job, working on their craft. So I think it falls into that gray area where it really determines, or I'm sorry, it's dependent on what you're doing day in and day out.
Right. Right. Because it does hold you to a higher standard in a lot of ways where because you don't have that privacy,
Yeah.
If I had eyes on me all the time, maybe I wouldn't do the same things that I feel comfortable doing when I can isolate on my own.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
I would have to live up to certain things, standards, even higher than I would, naturally live up to just being by myself. Look at people working from home. People can act like they could get the same amount of work done, but most people, just being honest, aren't going to be able to. And it's just because you don't have that, you're not surrounded by the people that you're working with, and you don't have it's that, as well as having the attention and the spotlight on you, as far as like, hey, did you get this done? Or somebody just watching you rather than you just taking a nap, watching your favorite show on Netflix and then getting your work done.
So, oh yeah. I feel like you could also relate this to the infamous football saying, right? We like to relate to football. So what are you doing when coach isn't watching? I think this is heavy on that, if that makes sense. Because to your point, people that work remote, right? Like myself, I work remote. Like I'm working, I'm putting in, some days I'm putting 16-hour days, some days I'm putting 18-hour day, whatever the case may be, right? And then like you said, there's some people folding some laundry, doing this, watching Netflix, watching that, watching the game. All right, my laptop was open today. I worked. I'm done. So I think there's the two extremes, if you will.
Yeah. It's like the pharmaceutical reps. You ever the pharmaceutical reps, they got to check in every place where they, you know what I mean? Like a lot of these sales reps, they got to check in everywhere they go just to hold people accountable. So it's yeah, so I guess that's a way that it's almost like exposing yourself for the world to make sure that everybody, like if you say that you want to live to a certain standard. I had a buddy of mine, without giving too much information, they were going through a struggle, and they threw everybody in on the group message and was very clear. This is what I'm struggling with. It is what it is. This is the goal. I'm back to myself. You know what I mean? So he just created an entire accountability group out of thin air. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now not only an accountability group, but fans, and not only fans that want to sit back, but people that want to support any way that they can, just being that, just based off of him being willing to put himself out there like that. Yeah. So I don't know what we got. Let's see what this leads into. So law 19. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person.
Oof. I feel like there's so many ways to go with this one. So many ways to go with this one.
Yeah, and even I'll flip it on it. Do not offend the wrong person. Yeah, well, know who you're dealing with. Yeah, know who you're dealing with. Uh, I was gonna go a bit of a different way, but so you don't. It's like the do not offend just sounds so negative. Like, but
I mean, but
know who you're dealing. But I get why they're saying it.
yeah,
You know.
like it's also yeah. Mm. I will say this. I do think this law is critical. Number one for any interaction that you have, and I feel like it is a lost skill. I feel like maybe it's me going on a little bit of a rant, but I feel like in the later generations or more current generations, whatever you want to call it, I feel like a lot of people don't follow this no more. A lot of people do not take this into consideration. I think in old school and more traditional times, I'll say this was like a this is like mandatory before
Mhm.
in any interaction that you go sit down anywhere, work, life, personal, religion, anywhere you go, you need to know who you're sitting with so you know how to treat them. And not that you should treat people differently, but you know how to approach the conversation as well as the dynamic, right? In the sense that, and I'm just giving broad, I'm going to give broad strokes here, right? Like you should, if you're going in a conversation with a random person on the street or just somebody that you just some randomly that you should know if that person is your elder or your equal. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of I'm going to treat an elder with more respect. I want to treat them with more endearment than I would a random stranger that's my same age. Different tone, different, same conversation, but I'm going to give a little bit more respect or a little bit more courtesy to the elder. I'm going to be more blunt and a little bit more calm with somebody at my same level, if that makes sense. Versus if I'm talking to a parent that my parents have, I give my parents certain respect in the conversation versus, if I'm talking to a sibling, I'm talking to a peer, you know what I mean? So I don't know, maybe that's how I took it. But what about you?
No, I definitely agree. And it's also, especially, knowing advice, knowing who
Mm,
you're getting the advice from, where it's coming from, what type of, oh, they're telling me everything that I want to hear. But then you learn about
yeah.
them, and maybe that's not necessarily where you want to end up. Or maybe
Hmm.
it is, like you said, if I know exactly what this person is about, if I know that there's somebody that I look up to, very respectful, has
Hmm.
has a solid marriage,
Yeah.
great dad. You know what I mean? That's the type of
Hmm.
person I want to pay a little bit more attention to. I want to know what questions to ask that person. So
Yeah.
it's almost even from like a sales aspect when we talked about, excuse me, we talked about a couple laws before
Hmm. Hmm.
where it was when you go into a client's office, you're trying to learn as much as you can. So
Hmm.
therefore, what pain points to solve, what's important to them, what are
Yeah.
they into, what are their interests, these things. So I definitely get it because you can put yourself in a position um, where you're offending somebody that may be exactly who you were looking for in order to uh, help you sharpen your tools, give
Hmm.
you another opportunity, give you an introduction, referral, whatever it may be, and you may just not even know how to properly behave in that situation. And I always look at it like you're always interviewing.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, and this is what I was starting off saying. It's like know who you're dealing with, not just to not offend them, but to know exactly, where this can go, how this can turn into an opportunity for you. And I look at like every
Mhm.
interaction can turn into an opportunity. So I guess it's just, bringing your best foot forward. But definitely, if you're going to, let's say, compete, if you're going to choose an enemy, if you're going to do all these things, then you want to learn as much as you can about the other person. Because if you look at this story, I think this is the one where um, the guy, they had the like, I guess, pickpocketers and such,
Yeah.
where there's a bunch of the scammers, modern day scammers
Yeah.
running around, thought that they could scam people. And this one dude, bro, he sacrificed his entire relationship, all his money. He went bankrupt, started looking for these people that took advantage of him for 5 years. He strapped one up to a horse, was bringing them back. Like all different, you mess
Yep.
with the wrong person, you're
Yep.
going to have to deal with that person for a very long time.
Yep.
And that may not be what you're looking to do. So
Yeah, I
be
think
cautious.
I feel like there's also two modern day examples of this, right? In the sense of one, I feel like it's a very common trend these days. Um, the rich or affluent, or even the power connector, right? The calm dress where, somebody like yourself, somebody like myself, we're in a situation, we're dressed calmly, we're not dressed sharp, we're in a social setting where, I'm wearing sweats and a hoodie, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
you have people come in this situation, try to come and commandeer and take over the room, looking for the same connections that me or you have, misread us because and judge based off whatever the clothes or whatever the case may be, and now they don't know who they're dealing with, and now they've offended the wrong person, because now I'm not going to go above and beyond for you. Like, even if you throw the interaction after the fact, like, they've already disrespected, or like, oh, like whoever, and then somebody comes in an hour later like, yo, this is so and so, like he's actually looking at, he's trying to link you for like 2 weeks. It's like, all right, yeah, cool. Sounds good. Cool. If he would have, knew who he was talking to, or came a little bit more respectful in the beginning, I might have hooked them up. You might have hooked them up, but now it's like, I'm good. Have a good one.
Yeah, you only get one chance to make that first impression.
100%.
Only
100.
get one chance to make that first impression. So yeah, I'm this is definitely something people need to pay attention to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This could make or break things very quickly.
Very quickly.
Mhm.
But what's the other one, the next one that's make or break, if you will.
All right, so let's see. We got law number 20. Do not commit, fellas, to any of these birds. Oh, my fault. No, I read it wrong. It says do not commit to anyone. I did. I'm just joking. Just joking. But don't commit to birds. Commit to the good girls out here, the good ladies, the ladies out here.
Don't commit to nobody, bro. Bird.
Oh, talk to me. Talk to me. Keep your leverage. Keep your leverage.
Keep your power, King. Stop it.
I mean,
Don't let me go on a rant. I know we talk about 40 a lot. Don't let me. This is gonna turn. Everybody's like, oh, this is some blue pill, red pill. It's gonna turn into some men empowerment real quick. Let me tell you. Don't commit. I had to just get that off my chest.
I'm letting you go, bro. I'm letting you go. I ain't stopping you on this one.
Man, come on. Like, all right. So what are some key, just the key parts here, right? Don't commit to anyone, be courted by all. Yeah, 100%, fellas. Don't stop giving it to the birds, man. Stop letting, oh my God, you need to take me to dinner. No, let them take you to dinner. How about that? And not just one. Let all of them take you to dinner. How about that?
Ooh.
Mm, mm.
I'm with it,
Just
man.
and not all right. I'm not saying like dudes are the prize here. Don't get me wrong. I ain't getting a little sassy tangent over here, but I'm just saying, if they want the pleasure of being in your company, if they want the power that you bring, you know what I'm saying, fellas, let them come to you. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying they gotta take you to dinner, this, that, and the third. There's a baby. Great,
Don't backtrack. Don't
great,
backtrack.
great. But but if she's not offering it, a coffee's still good. I'm just saying. If she's not paying for dinner, she paying for a coffee. It's still good.
Yeah, it's and we see that it's funny that the example that they used in the book was about Queen Elizabeth doing just that. Like she was using this exactly, and it's almost it for me. It's almost think about negotiating. As
Mhm.
soon as you accept the terms, you have no leverage.
Yeah, you're committed now.
It is what it is. So,
Yeah,
like you
100%.
only have leverage to change things while
Mhm.
you're not committed.
100%.
And
Yeah.
and that it's hard to it's very hard to argue against that. It's
Yeah.
very hard to argue against that. And I'll be totally honest. I talk to a lot of talk to a lot of men that are married,
Mhm.
and if they're being honest, and a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of them are not necessarily in a position where they can. This is what they tell me. Don't expect to get married and think things are going to change after you get married. If you're
Mhm.
asking for something, if you're asking for somebody to change, your significant other to change,
Mhm.
they say this is what they tell me, the experts.
Like,
Like
yeah,
they're,
yeah,
you know what
100%.
I'm saying? It's not me, but in my experience, I agree with it. But this is what they've told me, that anything that you've asked for, you're probably gonna get less of it. So you may have been asking for it before you go into that marriage. you're getting less of it. Now, this is what the men are telling me.
Mm.
Now, before that, it's almost like, okay, you know, a woman may do more to get you to marry her, to get you to want to have kids with her, to get this long-term commitment from you that comes in the form of either a ring or perhaps even bigger with a child. You know what I'm saying? So once they have that, it's kind of like, especially if you're dealing with the type of dude that, hey, once we get married, no divorce, you know, we're committed, we're locked in. It's very hard for certain people to change if they don't have an added level of pressure. And a lot of times that added level of pressure can only come based on something that they want. So as soon as they get what they want, now they no longer feel that drive or feel that urgency or that need to actually do the things that their significant other may be asking for. So that's just, I don't know. I don't know. Not to say don't get married, but I guess the advice would be make sure that, you know, everything is how you're comfortable with. Like, and this is for me. Like, I ain't had to look at it. I'm like, yo, if nothing changes, would I be cool? I bet. Check that off. If things get slightly worse, would you be cool? If you check that off, maybe move forward. But if you're not checking off either one of those boxes, then to me, that's just setting ourselves up for failure. Just asking for it, because we know deep down, we may not acknowledge it, but we know we may want something to work just because we want it to work. But in all actuality, we know that a lot of these situations that we're getting ourselves into, we're losing all of our leverage while we're still asking for things to change. It's like, what? That's like me going up to a team and saying, like, yo, I need more pay. Like, you just signed, bro. Like, knock it back up. Like,
I was
I ain't even have this combo.
Once you commit in any respect, you give away the leverage. So it sucks, but I mean, I haven't committed. You know what I mean? Like, you don't commit. Hold out to what your standards are and what it is that you're looking for. And when that is met, then commit. You know, then give in with your strength and your time and your energy and give in those resources. But until and if such a point, don't commit. Hold out and continue utilizing your strength and your resource, hone your skills, hone your craft. You know, working on all the rest of these laws and working on your, you know, I'm gonna just go with the fellas at this point, you know, work on the rest of the skills that need to be worked on so that when it is time to commit, you know, you are an individual who's capable of committing and bringing value to the table versus committing and making demands of others and asking for, you know, the moon and the stars and the rest of the world. You know what I mean?
I agree, bro. I agree. Oh, let me send this text ending shit real quick. Nah, let me.
You better chill. I'm gonna get a call in like 5 minutes. What y'all talking on the podcast tonight,
man? But it's definitely real, yo. It's definitely real, and we ignore it. We ignore it. We ignore it because it's easier to just commit. It's easier to just get it out the way. It's easier to want to be.
It's comfortable.
It's comfort. It's comfort that comes with it. But if you really, I guess it's like a business. If you think that your value is going to go up, then you may want to hold the sell. If you're not confident that your value is going to go up, you may want to get out.
Yeah, like this,
and just sell and just go. Hey, we're good here. So there's risk. There's risk on both ends. So I don't know. Do not commit.
Do not commit.
Yeah. Matter of fact, commit. You got to commit to not commit, and that's a commitment in itself. To be honest, like that's a commitment in itself because that's one of the hardest commitments to keep. Like I'm not committing until I get.
Don't commit. How many? If you had to hear how many birds Dag had to shoo away from me, so I don't commit. Come on, stop playing.
No, definitely not committing to no birds, man. That's a violation. That's an OG book club violation. Bro, you get DP for shit like that. Yeah. Oh my God, bro. Oh my God. All right. Well, 17. I'm just gonna read them again. And we'll wrap it up. 17 was keep others in suspended terror, cultivate an air of unpredictability. 18 was do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. 19 is know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. And 20 is do not commit to anyone. Y'all already got the game. Now, y'all, along with us, we just got to put it in play.
Nothing like it but to do it.
Same time next week. Y'all know what it is, man. Use these lessons. Don't let them use you.
Don't give in to the birds, fellas.
We'll see y'all soon. Same time next week. Ew.
Dude.